Okay, well, thank you all for coming out this cold January evening. Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, and this is a culmination of 28 years of advocacy, research, pushing, a lot of pushing, as I often joke, you know, a squeaky wheel gets grease. I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, I'm the squeaker in chief as far as African American history in this community. Therefore, it took a long time coming. When I moved here in '93, I didn't think this is what I'd be doing. But as it turns out, that's what I spent the last 28 years doing. Actually, more like 30. The first thing that happened was the festival. As soon as I got here, only a couple months after I got here, I received a fellowship to go to Nairobi, Kenya for an academic year. And then I came back, and the person that was putting together the festival, a guy named David Eckert, I got a booth and I was selling all the stuff I brought back from Africa. I wish I had kept some of that stuff though. But be that as it may, after that, pretty much I've been active in what was then not even perceived as a real project. The festival was the project. But when we decided that we wanted to have something that displayed and talked about the history, that was going to take money. So I suggested that we start a 501c3 so that we can collect, so we can get donations and give people tax write-offs, but also go after grants. And the culmination of that was the Tenner Hill Civil Rights Monument. And after that, we got several grants back in the day when earmarks were okay in government. And our congressman, the tall, white-haired fellow, what's the guy's name? Moran, yeah. And he got us several grants, but we also had several grants from the state as well. Well, that kicked off an effort to do some stuff, and then I found the box in the attic that had all kinds of stuff that no one else had, like the certificate of Frederick Foote when he became the town councilman, and the flyer from the referendum vote in 1915 when the city wanted to create segregation districts. And that was just, you know, just a couple of things that were in that box. Then I met a woman who had a museum background. She's now my wife. And we started creating some displays, well, actually, I'm only give you her story. Like history, her story. When she moved, I met her, I told her that I had an archive, and she, with her museum background, said, right, sure you do. And then when she came over, she saw that I had all this stuff. But I had it in the back room where the sun shined in at night and it was hot. And she said, oh, no. Let me try to straighten this out for you. So I go to work and she would sit there and file stuff and put things in acid-free sleeves and things like that. And I don't know what she put half of the stuff myself. I think she's hiding something from me this evening. But it was, now we have like about a dozen or more archival boxes of stuff, and there's still more stuff to be cataloged. There's always more. And then we went down to my home and visit my father in Tuskegee, and he said, go look in the basement. I think there's a couple of boxes down there with some stuff. So there was more stuff. And some of it was really good, like a document of my great-grandfather who was given the rank of colonel and was in the inaugural parade for President McKinley. You know, good stuff, good stuff. My family has lots of good stuff. And we're big on genealogy, so that's been something that we have tried to cultivate in the city. And then came the effort of the city to build a new middle school. And they made the big mistake of asking me to be on the naming committee. Big mistake. No. Opportunity, put it that way. It was an opportunity, and being the squeaker in chief, I pushed and pushed and pushed, and we went to every school board meeting, and every school board meeting they asked, they read how many people were in favor of this name or that name. But with all of our pushing, we contacted everybody that my grandmother had an association with. So every time, Mary Ellen Henderson was number one. And then when it came for a vote, the night that they were going to vote, we knew we had one vote out of the 7. One. And one of our board members talked to one of the people on the school board that got his vote. Then when it came time for vote, there was one other person, so it was 3. And then there was 3 for the name Eleanor Roosevelt. And the chair at the time, she voted to keep it the same, and then she called for a recess because I think she needed a bathroom break. Well, she came back, and they immediately went into another vote, and she threw her vote behind Mary Ellen Henderson. So it's 4-3. Wow. The deal was done, And so, it's interesting because, you know that something was meant to be when things happen like that. You know that when you really want to do something, powers that be, the universe will send people to you to help you accomplish what that is. You may not even know what that is at the time. I've been really lucky or blessed, depending on how you want to look at it. And the universe has really blessed me with sending me the right people at the right time to accomplish the things that we've done. The festival has now been over 30 years, and it's grown so much that it's really hard to maintain. And I hate to break some bad news to everyone who left over the city, that we're taking a hiatus this year. We're going to take a hiatus this year because the person that was doing it is no longer doing it. And it takes too much time and too much money for us to do it to go off half-cocked. So we're throwing our efforts behind the Tennant Hill Historic and Cultural District. Applying for grants killed me this morning, I tell you. Find out Donald Trump has suspended the grants. And I'm sure some of the grants that we wanted to go after, some of the ones that he's targeting. But we're still going to do our proposal. Let's see what happens, because by the end of the day, he was backtracking. So, how they say, you don't pay attention to what they say, you pay attention to what they do. And we'll just step out on faith and hope that things work out. This historic and cultural district really started to take off steam a few years back when the Economic Development Committee was going to do wayfinding signs. And I went before them and I talked about wanting to do some signs for Tenor Hill. And at first, they put up all the signs and I said, well, wait a minute, you said you were going to do this. And they did. But, at the last minute, I got some of the people in the planning department to go ahead and add 2 additional signs. And the 2 signs said the Tenor Hill Historic and Cultural District. And so, since we had the signs already, I said, why don't we make it official? Let's go ahead and do this Tenor Hill Historic and Cultural District. And I thought it would be easy. I thought it was, okay, we'll just put the name up and blah, blah, blah. It's done. But the wheels of government don't move that fast, and they had to do their due diligence. I think I pushed the idea for about a year, and then finally, and see, I'm on the historical commission here in the City of Falls Church too. And so I was pushing it through that. I'm now the chair of the commission. But I wasn't at the time. But I guess I kept bugging the chair at the time, Ron Anselm, to do something. And finally, we did a memo to the city to say we want this to happen. And it took them they still vacillated about 6 more months before they put it on the docket to discuss it. And then they had to do a study, and then they had to do, and then they passed it off to the planning department. And I worked with a wonderful woman who really worked hard on it, Emily Bazemore. Oh, she was such a jewel. She really did her research. And one of the things I want to show you in this document, they found a picture of my grandfather planting a tree in Cherry Hill Farmhouse. And, I can't thank her enough, And in last June, they actually put forth the vote on it. And I didn't think anyone was going to vote against it. No one did. And it was done. It was done around the same time that we unveiled the mural that's on South Washington Street. It says, "Welcome to Tenor Hill." And it has all the historic pictures inside of the letters. And if you haven't seen that, it's across from the monument, where the monument is. And it's very nice done. But we're not done yet. We still have more murals in the hopper, and we're going to continue to do those things. But a lot of people don't understand a lot of the other stuff that Tenor Hill has done either, such as Watch Night. Watch Night was actually an event that Tenor Hill championed. Now, in 1999, in 1998, the city wanted to celebrate the tricentennial. And so they did a big event at the crossroads, Leesburg Pike and South Washington Street, South and North Washington Street. And that was the first celebration. Now, the next year, we decided to do bringing in the new year, the millennium. In other words, 99, 2000. We partying like it's 1999. You know? And one of our board members was the pastor of Galloway United Methodist Church. And Clyde, I'll think about it in about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But Clyde came up with the idea of Watch Night as a African American celebration, you know. It is an African American celebration. A lot of people, including my vice president, David Edgar, wanted to give all kinds of great stories about why, about Watch Night being this and being that. But truly, it is, Watch Night had to do with the Emancipation Proclamation. And there were gatherings all over the country, north and south. Many of the people in the south didn't know about it, the Emancipation Proclamation, but the ones in the north stayed up till midnight to see the new year come in when the Emancipation Proclamation would be a reality. And for many of the people in the South, Watch Night had long been a tradition associated with pain. In other words, when the first of the year was a time when all debts would become due. And one didn't know if a mother or a daughter or a sibling might be sold off to satisfy debt. So families huddled together, you know, till midnight, not knowing what the next day, the first of the year would bring. That was also Watch Night, not a celebration though. And so the real meaning of Watch Night is very much an African American tradition, based in slavery, based in the time when the Emancipation Proclamation would become true. You know, but the history, preserving this history, has really been the defining mission of my existence. And it's one that I'm very proud of. Now, I'm going to go to this document now. And I guess I have to.
It's coming back up.
This has a timeline. The area is written into the comprehensive plan for the city. And that is a marvelous thing. It recognizes the city's recognition of this history as important to the city. And we are very pleased with that. And that was adopted last June, the vote I was telling you about. Now, the items within the site are the Charles and Mary Elizabeth Tenner house, which now belongs to Becky Stiles. Galloway United Methodist Church. The cemetery, however, is not in Falls Church City because of the line from when they gerrymandered and retroseeded the black community outside of the town of Falls Church in 1887. Joseph and Mary Tenner's home outline. Joseph, we want to do something there regarding an additional display of that. We are thinking of a ghost structure. The Henderson House, my house, which is on Maple Avenue, Tripp's Quarry, and Tronjamite. Kim, the zigzag structure, which is it's a Mandinka symbol, which means basically resilience and making a way out of no way. Tenner Hill Civil Rights Monument, Tenner Hill Historic Site Marker, written in stone walkway trail, which, as Sue was telling you, is in the sidewalk there in front of the 455 at Timber Hill. Women's History Walk, all in the sidewalks, all through that neighborhood. You know, we have stampings in the sidewalk that portray the history of women in the City of Falls Church. Harry Foote Turner Land. Harry Foote Turner was a woman who was tasked on the Fitzhugh Plantation of taking a dozen or so enslaved people on the Fitzhugh Plantation to market, to be sold and sent down south. But she knew these people, and she would not condemn them to a life of brutality and picking cotton in the South. Oh, and the future parklets.
What did she do then with these people? What happened?
Oh, yes. Thank you. She forged travel passes and took them all the way to Canada. See, this was 1858, so the fugitive slave law was in effect. She couldn't just take them to Philadelphia or New York because the Fugitive Slave Act mandated that you had to turn in the slaves and bring them back to their owners. Or there were bounty hunters that were going up and then looking for them. And if they couldn't find them, they would do something called blackbirding. In other words, they'd just grab anybody and put them into slavery and get money. There's two sets of parklets. There's a parklet, and we have submitted our recommendations for those parklets, being that they are either in or adjacent to the newly designated historic cultural district. We asked that they both, well, one we asked to be named for the indigenous tribe of the area, the Tocsin/Dogue tribe. And the other one we're naming for we suggested the name for the Foote family, because there's Fred Foote Sr., who owned Seven Corners, Fred Foote Jr., who was the first African-American councilman, Harriet Foote Turner, who I just told you about, Eliza Foote Hicks, finally Henderson, who ran away and was sold down south and then made her way back here and purchased Fred Foote Jr.'s store. Very savvy woman. The Transit Plaza. The Transit Plaza, as it started out, which is at the corner of Hillwood and South Washington Street, at first, it was very much not very diverse at all. It didn't include the Indians, it didn't include the African Americans. And initially, the whole plaza was supposed to be about Timber Hill history, but other people in the community said, it's our one shot to tell our history here in the city. So we had to share the wealth. And as it started out, we weren't in it at all. And we complained, and then there was 3 of us on the committee, 3 other people on the committee, and we put in as much as possible. But these panels, there's 8 of them, and if you haven't seen those, I suggest you check those out as well. But they spent a lot of money, brick sidewalks and everything in that part of the city. So I think that the city must have some real plans for doing some things in that part of the city. And then there's the Rolling Road, which is pretty much a closed off road now. It really was, it used to be Fairfax Courthouse Road that went from Leesburg Pike past the Falls Church, in front of my house, and then at the bottom of the hill, it took the route that goes to Fairfax. Okay. And this is the district map. It's a triangle, and it basically goes from the corner of Maple and Annandale to the bottom of the hill where Maple meets South Washington. And then it goes through the community up to Galloway United Methodist Church, and then from there back over to Maple and Annandale. And this area we plan to populate with displays, plaques, as it turns out, parks, murals, and the like, in order to make it something that you might call it, what do you call it? Cultural tourism, or something like that. I forget the term. Heritage tourism. Okay. And what we have done since the designation of the historic district is that we have applied for and become a member of the African American Civil Rights Network, which is under the umbrella of the National Park Service. And hopefully Donald Trump hasn't frozen all those grants because we're applying for some of them. But there's some other grants that we're also applying for from other organizations like National Trust for Historic Preservation. We applied for it last year. We didn't get it, but we got some good feedback, and we're going to apply for it again. And so between the city, the African American Civil Rights Network, National Park Service, we want to get Fairfax County to get involved. They really haven't done much monetarily since they purchased the lot on Tenor Hill, which is half of the historic site. So that's what our plans are, and we'll see how things work out. You know, you never know till you try, and that's our vision. That's our plan. I hope I wasn't beating around the bush too much about things, but I think that's how you do it. This is basically a timeline here, but they don't see the work that was done before. This is just the city's portion, Tenniel Foundation meeting, outline, and map review. Okay, so that's the city's involvement as far as what they were doing. And culminating in the vote and final consideration on June 24th, 2024.